All right, I'm gonna mute you guys and we'll get started. All right, you guys are muted. We're gonna get started. This will be a quick one. I know it's Friday and you don't really want to do a whole lot anyway. We're gonna practice a little bit more of the mean. We're not gonna really practice as much as I'm gonna go over some stuff with you guys that a lot of people were getting wrong. On the worksheet, one of them said, Jean loves to go bird watching. One day she saw 7 birds. The next day she saw 11 birds. The next day she saw no birds. What is the average number of birds Jean saw each day? So we have 11 plus 7 plus 0. Some of you are forgetting that 0 in there, so you get 18. Some of you only divided by 2, but really Jean was bird watching for 3 days. So you need to divide 18 by 3, and then you would have gotten 6. So when you do these, make sure, even if it said 0, that's still a number you have to count, okay? So the answer to that one, a lot of you put 9 because you only did these 2 numbers. You have to do all of the days that she went out, which was 3 days, 11, 7, and then 0. Okay, so that might be why some of you got that one wrong. Let me go back to the other sheet. I think that was really the only one that a lot of people got wrong on the average word problem sheet. On the other one, I'm going to do a couple with you, like this one. 8 plus 7 plus 0. Okay, so same thing on this one. If you have 3 numbers, you need to divide by 3, even if the 0 doesn't really add anything to it. So 8 plus 7 is 15, divided by 3 is 5. Okay, I'm gonna go to the other one too from yesterday, because that one had some bigger numbers. Give me just a second to pull that up. Okay. Let's do one like this, because this one was getting kind of confusing, I think, with all the numbers. 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 17 plus 14 plus 8. Okay, so I think a lot of people maybe got confused because there's so many 7s in there. When I solved them, I went through and I made sure I added them up twice. That way I could make sure I got the right answer. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So that's 40, 4, 5. So you got 60. Then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers that we divided by. So 60 divided by the 10 numbers equals 6. Okay, so that would have been your answer for that one. That one was number 3 on the worksheet yesterday. So we're not going to do a whole lot of practice with this today. I'm going to give you a couple to practice. And then what you're going to do is I have a worksheet up that is kind of what we've been doing with the test scores. Like if we have somebody who made 100 on this test and a 45 on this test and whatever, what's their average, okay? So I'm going to pull up a couple on my phone and then I'm going to put them on here and we're going to do some together. So give me just a second. I don't want to make them up out of my head because then it might not divide right. So give me just a second. Okay. Did that one. All right, let's do this one. 12 plus 4. Actually, I'm just going to list them out. 12, 4, 3, 9, and 12. Okay, so solve that one. I'm going to solve it on my paper while you guys solve it. And then we're going to see if we can all get the same answer here. So you guys solve it, and then we're going to get the answer together. Okay, so when you added those numbers up, you would have gotten 40. There are 5 numbers, so 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay, you should be able to do 40 divided by 5 in your head now because you know that 8 times 5 is 40. Okay, so your answer is 8. Good job. All right, so let's try one more and then we're gonna look at some science. We're not gonna do a whole lot of this today because you guys already know how to do it. Let's do 4, 8, 6, 5, and 2. Okay, 4, 8, 6, 5, 2. Okay, so if you added these up, you would have gotten 25. Let me show you the way I did this in my head. Maybe you guys did it in your head this way. 8 plus 2 is 10. 10 plus 6 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. 20 plus 5 is 5. So I got 25. And then I'm dividing it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay? So you should have gotten 5 there. Okay, so today you're going to do the worksheet I'm going to unlock in just a minute after we finish science. And it is just basically what we did the other day when we did the practice test scores that were in your book. So you'll figure out what the mean is for the students and then answer some other questions I have with it. It's super easy. I think it's like 8 questions. So what I want you to do next is get out your science book. And let's just look. I know some of you have probably already done it for the day, and that's fine. But we're still going to go over some of the new stuff. All right, so let's look at page D20. D20. This is actual weather stuff today, so how they map the weather, how they chart the weather, some of the weather terms they might use on the news, things like that. So this, I think, is a little bit easier and more interesting than what we did with the stuff yesterday and the day before with the fronts and stuff like that. So I think you'll like this a little bit better. So today your assignment was to read D20 through 23 and to do D23 1 through 5. We'll do notes and stuff next week. Remember, your vocab test is Tuesday. That was on Dojo. If you haven't seen it, it was on there earlier this week. You'll have your vocab test on Tuesday. That's all the words like barometer, humidity, hygrometer, all those weather and atmosphere words. And then the actual test for the chapter will be after next week. So we'll do that later. All right, so look at D20 with me. Meteorologists are scientists who study and measure weather conditions. Some of these conditions are air temperature, air pressure, and wind speed and direction. Meteorologists have developed tools for measuring each of these weather conditions. When you want to know if it's hot or cold outside, you look at a thermometer or listen to a weather report. Thermometers measure the temperature of the air. In the investigation, you measured another property of the atmosphere, air pressure. Air pressure is measured with an instrument called a barometer. In one type of barometer, air presses down on the instrument, causing the needle to move. The needle points to a number that tells how much the air is pressing down. In other words, the instrument measures the weight of the air above it. You learned in lesson 2 that the particles of air are closer together in cold air mass than in warm air mass. Most cold air masses are denser and so have a higher air pressure than warm air masses. Okay, so look at the bottom. The top picture where it has the wooden cabinet thing, that is a rotating drum barometer. A barometer measures how heavy the air is, the air pressure. It records it almost kind of like when we did the earthquakes and it had the rotating drum and we talked about how the needle moves, kind of like that. It measures how much air is on top of it and how much pressure. If you look at the picture, it looks like a beachfront hotel. Earth's land surfaces heat faster than its bodies of water, so the air above land is usually warmer. That means it's also less dense. So when you have warm air outside, it's going to have a, let me make sure I say this right before I tell you. Warm air is going to have a lower air pressure. Cold air is going to have a higher air pressure. If you look at the other side, another characteristic of weather you can measure is humidity, or the amount of water vapor in the air. Humidity depends on several things. The area over which an air mass forms affects its humidity. For example, air masses that form over bodies of water have more moisture than air masses that form over land. Temperature also affects how much moisture can be in the air. Warm air can have more water vapor than cool air. This is why water drops form on the outside of a glass of cold water during a warm day. Air near the glass cools. The air can no longer have as much water. The water vapor comes out of the air, forming drops. In the investigation in Lesson 2, you made a windsock. With it, you estimated the speed and direction of the wind. Meteorologists measure wind speed by using an instrument called an anemometer. They find wind direction by using a weather vane or a windsock. So look at the top. That is what they want to show you with evaporating water. The little thing that they have over to the side is a hygrometer. That measures the moisture in the air, or the humidity. When you go outside on really hot days and it feels like wet in the air, that's when you're feeling the humidity, when it's very wet feeling and muggy outside. If you use the word muggy, it's really humid, and we have really humid summers here. The bottom picture, that's an anemometer. It is basically just something that measures the wind speed and direction. A wind vane also does that. If you've ever seen those things people have on top of their houses with the chicken and the arrows and it spins, that shows you what direction the wind goes. All right, turn the page. Mapping and charting weather. By watching and measuring weather conditions, scientists can keep track of moving air masses. Scientists record their measurements on charts and maps. Then they analyze the data to predict weather. A weather map can be big or small. Large maps show how the weather differs across the country. Small maps show weather changes across a state or a smaller area. Satellite pictures and maps often show clouds and weather for a large part of Earth. A weather map uses symbols to show weather conditions. Long lines marked with half circles or triangles stand for fronts. Words or symbols describe the weather in an area. For example, small dashes may stand for rain and small stars may stand for snow. Symbols also may show the type of clouds that are in the area. So if you look at the left side, those are pictures that you should be pretty familiar with. Those are the kinds of pictures that are on the news when they have weather reports. It's called weather mapping. If you look at the top, that's weather charts, and you're going to kind of do something like a weather chart next week where I want you to look at the weather for the day and tell me the different aspects of it. So if you look at Sunday, it says the daily high was 89 and the daily low was 72. The record high was 101 and the record low was a 44. Record high and lows means that's the highest or the lowest it's ever gotten. The daily temperature for that area is 81. It doesn't tell us what area. If you look on the other side, it's a simple weather map. These are kinds you find in newspapers, kind of at the top of the newspaper. They're just easy to read kind of maps. So what we're going to do next week is kind of look more at the weather stuff, how you measure weather. What you need to know are what the instruments are. A barometer measures air pressure. Humidity is the moisture in the air. It's measured by a hygrometer. And then you need to know about weather mapping. Just be able to know that that's how we show what the weather is going to be on the news, or even online. Sometimes they have it. All right, so I'm going to look at 1 through 5 with you real quick. It says, what is a hygrometer? That one's just a vocab answer. Use your vocab to answer that one. What factors affect humidity? Okay, so go back and you'll see the word humidity. And it says humidity depends on several things. So then after that, it would tell you what factors affect humidity. Number 3, what are the 2 tools that meteorologists use to study and predict the weather? It could be any 2 tools that you see in this lesson. We talked about 2 that are vocab words. Number 4, an air mass forms over Alaska. Describe what you think the temperature and humidity of this air mass will be like. So think about Alaska, where it is, and think about, is it going to be hot or cold air? Is it going to be wet or dry air? And then the last one, which instrument is used to measure air pressure? That one's another vocab word. Okay, so I'm going to unlock your math right now in front of you so you can make sure it's done. And then if you guys don't have any questions, in just a second, I'm going to let you go work on that. So the worksheet today, I'm unlocking it now. It's only one worksheet and it's like 8 problems, I think. I made a little chart last night and did it that way. Okay, it is unlocked now. So I'm going to unmute you if you have any questions. If you don't have any questions, you're free to go. Remember that your mic is going to pick up everything, so make sure you're not taking over the mic unless you have a question, okay?
Bye, Miss Clark.
Bye, Miss Clark.
Bye if you're leaving. Bye.
Bye, Cammy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 I miss you.
I miss you.
Bye.
Bye.
I miss you, Natasha.
Bye.
Bye.